I've gone to domestics, I've been headbutted in the face, and he had a knife in his pocket. He had a vendetta with another guy, supposed to be going to his house. So when I found it, then obviously he tried to run, so I grab him, and then obviously the fighting starts. It was horrendous. With a metal bar, he took half a ear off this student, who he didn't know, he was just high on drugs. So I put him in the back of the police car. He's handcuffed, and as I went to grab my case, I always remember he just headbutted me full force in the nose. I think it was 1999 or 2000, it was when Cardiff City were playing Millwall. As soon as they got off the trains, they just charged us. There was thousands of Cardiff fans coming up towards Millwall, and that was battles all day. Done my work on a computer. I'm going to a meeting. As I'm coming out of a meeting, the police professional standards, the PSD, are waiting for me, and they arrest me. I can hear on the PSD officers, they've arrested my wife. I'm thinking, what's going on here? And I remember my solicitor saying, Tony, we've got to get in there to clear your name and get the evidence. It was a kangaroo court. And I tried to commit. I was going to jump off a bridge.
All right, so we've got an ex-police officer who's never told his story before like this. Friend of John Wedger, so shout out to John Wedger for hooking this up. And it is a harrowing story arc. You've heard many of our interviews with the cops. You know, they join for the right reasons, but then the bureaucracy, the corruption kicks in, and they put their lives on the line. There's a lot of trauma, a lot of PTSD, and at the end, you know, there's some pretty dark outcomes, and this story is no exception. So, huge thank you for Tony for coming in and sharing this with us, because it's a lot to relive. And before you got in the police, what was your life like?
I had various jobs, sales jobs, you know, but my number one game was to join the police force. You know, since I was a young age, it just appealed to me, and that's all I wanted to do. You know, since I was little, it was myself either be a professional footballer or be a police officer. And
were you idealistic, or did you understand how hard hitting it is?
The police, I think years ago it's completely different to what it is now. Had I known now, in hindsight, it's easy to say, but there's no way, and I wouldn't recommend anybody to join the police force now, especially what I've gone through personally. But when you look at other officers around the country, I feel sorry for them. And these new recruits, I don't know if you're aware, there's a large amount of people, who's joining the police forces, and within a couple of months, years, they're just resigning. It's not for them. They're seeing what it is. I think it's a lot to do with the government. When I was trying to join the police...
I was going to ask, what was it like for you as a new recruit?
Oh, it was brilliant. It was... I'll tell you how... I got in the police because I was so desperate. I became a special constable. And like I said, I was always good at football. And I remember one boy in Canton Police Station, he heard that obviously I was good at football. And he invited me to go down to play football for the South Wales Police football team. And I don't think there's been ever any special constables playing football for the South Wales Police Force. Like their rugby, they were well known. They were a good force, rugby and football. And I can remember going down there, having a training session. And I remember then they put me number 9 centre forward straight away, which was, I was a bit shocked. And I can remember a couple of the regular police officers coming up to me behind the manager's backs and saying, I can't believe they've picked you, you're only a special. But because I've always had a little bit of, not attitude, but switched on, I said, well, they've only picked me because I'm better than you. And, they'd look back. And I played for the Force throughout that season. And I remember one game down Wharton Cross headquarters, some superintendent came up to me and he said, Tony, can I have a word? So he invited me. He said, have you applied to join the police force? I said, well, yeah, I did. I said, but I got refused. He said, can you put a form in on Monday? And from that time, my application just sailed through and I was in. And I'm pretty sure that, it was my football skills that got me into that job. And I've played for the Force ever since,
What basis did they refuse you initially?
South Wales Police was one of the hardest forces to be recruited outside. A lot of people from South Wales, they used to go up to the Metropolitan Police because obviously larger force. They go in there, they get recruited, they do their probation, and it was well known they'd turn around and transfer them back to South Wales because they couldn't get in South Wales Police. It was so hard.
Right. So how old were you when you went in, and what was your training like?
I went in, I was 30 years or 31. I remember the training, we went up to Hendon, and I thought, oh no, we're going up to Hendon. And at that time, I can remember we were in the old blue shirts. And I remember turning up in Hendon, and it was Leicestershire, Sussex, Devon and Cornwall, Thames Valley and ourselves. We were all split up and we were told to get changed in our police uniforms. And I remember turning up in this big hall and we're looking at our uniforms. Yeah, we're from Wales. We still got the blue shirts and everyone sort of looking because they've got the nice uniform white shirts. And but I got to say, Hendon was fantastic. The facilities, everything, really enjoyed it. It was hard, but the facilities up there was second to none. Really enjoyed it.
So did you have to do a lot of physical training?
Yeah, which again, I was into my football. I was very, very fit. That didn't bother me at all. More training, the better for me, really. I remember as well, up in Hendon, there was like 2 large tower blocks. And after the classes, we used to play rugby in the field below. And used to get all the other different officers from the other forces, and we'd invite them down. We say, you're going to come down and play rugby. They said, we're not playing with you lot from Wales. We're going to get injured. And it was like second to none. But no, it was brilliant.
So you aced the physical side. What was your first assignment then? Where did you go?
I was posted to, it was a high student area in Cardiff in Cardiff. Lots of students there. I was there for, I think, about 6 months. And then I was transferred then to another part of Cardiff, Roach police station. And at that time, that was the busiest sector in the whole South Wales Police Force for calls. It was call to call to call. It was manic. And, I'm not saying I'm the brightest. There was other people who joined the job who were very switched on, passed their exams easy. When we used to go back to have refresher treatment, you'd see like I was up there because they hadn't dealt with like deaths and, stabbings and things like that. But where I was working at that time, that was a norm. You never knew what you were going to come against.
Yes, a lot of the ex-cops we interview tell us right away they have to attend an autopsy. Some have said they could never do it again. Some have said they did 10, 20 of them. Yeah. And, it didn't bother them. Or they kind of suppressed it at least. How did you find going into an autopsy?
Me, myself, I never done one.
You never did one?
No, I don't know why. I can remember in our training they said you'd have to do it, but I think at that time it's sort of, you didn't have to do it. But where we were working, we had the Cardiff CRI, Royal Infirmary. It was right on our patch. So you'd see dead bodies all the time or people with accidents coming in. It was the norm. And,
do you remember your first one?
Not my first one. I can remember, I can give you loads of specifics. A guy he was involved in drugs. It was in the afternoon. He'd been sliced everywhere. And that sticks in my mind a little bit. You just see blood spurting everywhere. He was high himself and trying to calm him down. You're thinking, is he Hep C and things like that? And that was all drug related. That sticks with me. But at the time, I think a lot of police officers will say, I think the adrenaline kicks in. So you're on override anyway. I think the main thing which I didn't like would be things with children. You know, that's a touching thing. Anything if they've been injured, abused, things like that. I can tell you loads of things with that which stick with me.
What were the first cases of that you encountered?
I remember going to a call. There was this little girl. She was about 3 years old. It was about midnight, and it was when these Motorola, the big brick phones came out, and she'd phoned 999, and the ops room said, she's just phoned us, she's 3 years old, she can't wake her mother up. So obviously me and my partner went down, and we're there just before the ambulance. As we kicked the door in, they had this massive Staffordshire Bull Terrier, which was on springs. So I said to Steve, I said, put the dog out the back. So with that, the paramedics turned up, and this little girl, and I had two girls then, they were like 2 and 4. And so I can relate to the little girl. And the paramedics went upstairs. So they called me, I stuck my head up, and they went, she's dead. So I thought, oh, so that upset me. So I put the little girl in the police car. I drove to the garage, bought her some sweets, took her to the police station, and on the way I said, well, where's your daddy? Oh, my daddy's in hospital, he's broke his back. So anyway, it transpired he hadn't broke his back, he was in prison for obviously drug related. And I said to the girl, I said, well, what happened? She said, oh, well, I was cold. She said, and I climbed in mummy's bedroom. I went into her bed, and she was cold. So I tried to wake her up, and then what upset me, she said, so I got my little finger, put it on her nose, and her nose was cold. And I thought, she said, so I got the phone and dialed 999. And I thought, well, what a bright little girl at that age to do 999. I don't think my children would have been capable. And anyway, it transpired, we were on double back coming back, and I found out her father was in hospital, and mother had taken a drug overdose. This little 3-year-old was in the house, and I was even contemplating, thinking about, you know, adopting herself. That's how much it affected me. So yeah, that's one experience. But I know the family then from Ireland were coming over to take her, because part of her other family who lived in Cardiff, they weren't, or I don't think social services had let them take her anyway. But yeah, you know, things like that. I've been in on traffic. You've gone to loads of accidents. We've seen bones and flesh hanging out, and you know, and I can recall another time there was a Hyundai car, and the son had taken it without his parents' consent, showing off with his mates and his girlfriend in the car, speeding around the corner, hit the bollards upside down, and he was squash brain damaged and things like that. So yeah, but I think at the time, I think it's the adrenaline gets you through, and that is part of the job. And as soon as you attend the scene, yeah, you look at these things, flesh hanging out and things like that, but you're thinking, right, what have I got to do, and who have I got to contact, etc. And I think it's only after then, and that's where a lot of the PTSD comes into it, where a lot of these officers are dealing with loads of nasty things, and I don't think the public realise, you know, how many things and nasty things, and it might not affect you then, but it's later on.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, there's loads.
So your first few years, what were your biggest challenges?
I think my first few years, big challenges, I can remember it was obviously learning your skills, your proper law, and you do think, oh, sorry, you'll never learn all this. But then all of a sudden it clicks. And that's where the confidence comes in of you being a police officer. And everywhere where I've worked, in Roath, Lanisham Station, on a community, wherever I've worked, I've always had the highest arrest rate. I remember my friend who was a superintendent, and we used to socialise quite a bit, and he's working out in Switzerland now for UEFA. I remember seeing him regularly say, your name, Tony, come up on tasking this morning. Because when I left Roath, I went up to Lanisham, which was a bigger area, but it wasn't as busy as Roath, and it gave you time to do your proper policing where you stop checking things. I can remember one day, 4 o'clock in the morning, we had a bit of intelligence, and I stopped this silver car, blacked out windows, and I was with a young female probationer. And as I stopped it, as an experienced copper, you get that gut feeling. And the window came down, and there was these 2 big black guys in there, and they had a Birmingham accent. So you're thinking, well, what are they doing down here? Nice area of Cardiff, and 4 o'clock in the morning. So I think your police skills come into it. You got that gut feeling. So, you talk them tidy, you say, okay, whatever you've been, can I just do a check on yourself and a vehicle? You got insurance? Yeah, well, just sit in the back of the van. I'll take your details, you'll be on your way. But I can feel the adrenaline, is something not right here. And so I said to my colleague, I said, just record his details in the car. So I get the driver's details, and I always remember it. She went, the ops room, oh dear, you code 8, which means you confidential. So my heart was going a little bit. I just knew. I shut the van doors. I said, won't be a minute. I said, yes, go ahead. And she said, he's wanted for a murder of, I won't say the name, of this girl up in the West Midlands. And I'm like, my heart is pounding. So, and that was part of the job. I used to love it. I've arrested...
so let's just go back to that a second.
Yeah.
So you got them locked in your van, was it?
I put the driver in my van to split them up.
And was he the one who was wanted?
He was the one who was wanted.
So you got him locked in the van.
Yeah.
The other one's still in the car.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Well, he wasn't wanted, the other guy.
Yeah.
He'd done a check on him. He wasn't allowed to drive the car. So obviously I was more concerned about getting this guy who was wanted for a murder or association with a murder back up to lock him up. And then obviously West Midlands police come down then and collect him in the morning, take him back to the West Midlands. The other guy in the car, he walked off. And
he walked off.
Yeah. So
and the other guy went peacefully.
Yeah. So again, that's good policing.
Yeah. Any other hairy moments like that in the early years?
Yeah. There was another one. My mate, his wife was pregnant. We were in a station. It was about early afternoon, and a call came out. There was an armed robbery taking place at the post office. So, of course, everybody leaves the station. I go out the backyard. There's no police vehicles. So I said to my mate, who was just leaving early to go to the hospital with his wife to have a scan, I said, can you drop me down this area in Lanisham, Trenchard Drive? It's like a wooded area. And so we done that. And I remember the helicopter was all up. There was dog handlers everywhere. And it's local knowledge again. So within about half hour, I see this massive guy coming out of the woods. And I just look at him. He's sweating, everything. And I just went after him, grabbed him by the hand. You could feel the adrenaline. And I just said to him, I'm arresting you on suspicion of armed robbery. And he said, yes, I know. So what he done, he went into the post office. He had acid, apparently. And he threatened all the staff to get on the floor and all the members of the public. He ran, but he came up from, I think, Plymouth way.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether it was pre-planned or something. His wife went to meet some relative in Cardiff, and I found out he had some money problems, and obviously he just planned this. So again, that was local knowledge. I had police accommodation for that. But again, you never know what you're going to deal with. It's, and I've done all different aspects in a job.
So in those early years then, were the times when you tried to arrest people and they resisted? Got any stories of those?
Yeah. To be honest, down in Roath Police Station, it was so volatile, more or less every arrest you'd have to use force. It was that sort of place.
Any memorable ones that you can give us a story about?
Oh, so many. I've been on a riot police. I remember when Bristol City came over, they were playing Cardiff City, and we get a call to get out straight away. And I remember alighting from the police van, and it was about 3-4 Bristol City fans, and he kicked this Cardiff City guy in the face, and I seen it, so I chased him up the road. I give him a sweeping leg kick. He went down. As I fall on top of him, I've got the 3 other guys in who's threatening me. So I had to get my spray out, and everything sort of stopped a little bit, but then obviously other units come. So yeah, there's been loads of incidents. There's another incident. There was a lady down in Grangetown when she was mental health. She went ballistic with a big carving knife. Ooh. Her husband was outside.
When you say she went ballistic, what do you mean?
Mental health. She just flipped. She was going to kill anybody.
Was she on the streets or was she in the house?
She was in the house. She was up in the top room, and so I remember getting kitted up again with the shields, and you've got to go in there as a unit. You're trained.
What's the plan in a situation like that?
Well, we used to go up to the army place up in Caerwent, and we do PSU, police support unit training, bricks, shields and all that, because at that time as well, we do, I don't know if you recall, when Wembley Stadium was being built, we'd have all the cup finals down here. So, and we were brilliant, not being big-headed. Everything was done, you know, really, really good, but we're always highly trained. And so what we done in that scenario was she's in the room, we can hear her shouting, screaming, banging, and you put the shields together, you move in, and obviously you pin her in a corner, checking obviously none of your colleagues are going to get knifed and that. And then obviously I remember coming in, grabbing a knife, and then obviously she was arrested for 136 mental health and all that. But
so you got to get in fast.
Yeah. So,
and how easy is it to take the knife?
Well, it all depends. I've been in other situations. I remember another time in Trenchard Drive, this guy who was about 6'6", he was massive. And again, he kicked off, and I remember going down there early hours in the morning, 6 o'clock, so he hadn't been taking his medication, and he flipped. That was quite scary because he's assaulted a lot of people.
Did he have any weapons or anything?
Not when we went in there, but we don't know. We know he carries knives and things like that, you know, and that's the thing, you never know. So we went in and restrained him.
And how easy was that?
That situation was, it was a couple of minutes longer, but those minutes seemed like, yeah.
What was he resisting and throwing?
Oh yeah, he's threatening us, kicking us, everything, and you can imagine how
strong he was.
Yeah. So, but obviously we managed to do that. There was another one. She was, because we used to cover the hospital up in the Heath Hospital. I can remember another woman, she was going to chuck herself off, and I had police accommodation for that. I had to talk her down. She was going to jump off the top of the multi-storey. So I can remember coming up.
What did you say to her?
She said, swearing, get away, etc. And I'm trying to calm her down, and then she sort of dangling then over the edge.
Oh my God.
So I had to sort of talk her down. I took my radio, not my radio, sorry, my kit off. I said, listen, I only come to talk to you. One of your family members want to speak to you, etc. So I managed to sort of sit by a couple of yards away.
How was she reacting at that point?
She had this vacant look, and, you know, my adrenaline's going because I thought she's going to go any minute now. So I remember I said, listen, and I remember she had a mobile phone. I said, listen, my phone's not working, my police radio. I chucked it in the middle of the floor. I said, let me just use your phone so I can contact my sergeant. And she's looking. I said, listen, I said, all I want to do is contact my sergeant. So she leant over, gave me it, and that's when I grabbed her and pulled her off. But, you know, that was quite hairy.
What was the relief like at that moment?
Again, Sean, you don't think of it at the time. It's the adrenaline going, and after you think, wow, do you know what I mean? But it's, and that's why I loved about the job. It was brilliant. You never know what you're going to deal with. You know, you're dealing with a murderer, or you could be just going to court, giving a bit of evidence. You could just go into a community meeting. And it was brilliant. I saying to my colleague on the way down here, I loved the job. It was fantastic. And it was only when I ended up in licensing that things started to change for me.
We'll get to that. Did you sustain any injuries in the first early years?
Yeah, he was in riot police. I remember Cardiff City playing Stoke City down at the old Ninian Park. I remember Cardiff City fans trying to have a go at the Stoke fans. I remember having a brick in my back. I ended up in hospital with that.
Oh.
I've gone to domestics. I've been head-butted in the face.
So with the brick in the back then, could you just set the scene a little bit there? Where were you and what were you trying to do at that moment?
It was in the playoffs when Cardiff City had to win, but Stoke won. And so obviously they were going up to the Premiership. And I remember the Cardiff, they wouldn't move out. There was thousands. And
how does that feel when there's thousands of them? So like Braveheart?
No. I think then I worked with guys and females as well, that we were very, very good, organised, well-trained. I know that a lot of police officers won't like it now. I look at it now, especially with the new stadium. They haven't been involved what we've been involved. I remember the Northern Ireland Police had come down as well, and they watch how the South Wales Police, Cardiff PSU, had deal with things because they couldn't believe we had less officers compared to, say, the Met, and how we dealt with all these big events.
So on that day, then, you got a tight, highly trained unit. Are you in gear, like riot gear?
Helmets, everything.
And have you got protective vests or anything on?
Yeah, you got, like, obviously these shield vest things. They're not that good, really, but you'd have your body armour, shields, helmets, gloves. I remember chasing or trying to move the Cardiff fans down there. Of course, behind us, there was hundreds more. And I remember another guy, won't say his name, he got hit on the head. He was concussed. Brick. He was concussed. He was down. But my very first game, I always remember, as a riot police officer, was, I think it was 1999 or 2000. It was when Cardiff City were playing Millwall. And I was a little bit naive. And coming out, it was a lovely Saturday early morning. And all of a sudden on the radio, everybody get kitted up into their number one, such as helmets and everything, shields. And I remember members of the public helping all these officers getting kitted up. And with that, there was thousands of Cardiff fans coming up towards Millwall. And that was battles all day. And when I looked after the CCTV, they were like ants, Cardiff. They were everywhere. And a saying went as well, I don't know if you know, with the FA Cup final when Leeds United came down to play Cardiff City. You know, some of the things down there which was going on, that was quite frightening. And I remember we had loads of intelligence and the Leeds United fans, we were at the back of Grangetown train station, and the intelligence, obviously there was going to be loads of disorder. As soon as they got off the trains, they just charged us. And obviously, because we were really highly trained and all in a straight line units, we detained it, everything. But what went on after, it was bedlam. Oh
my goodness, let's go this more slowly. So did you say there's hundreds or thousands of them?
Oh, there'd be thousands.
Thousands of them? Yeah. How many of you were there?
I'd say about 500-600 police officers.
500-600 police?
Yeah.
Thousands of them charging at you?
Yeah.
At that moment, what's going through your head?
At that moment, I think then...
you don't think you're in like a movie like Braveheart or something?
No. You do get, you know, there's some scary moments there, you know, with bricks and things like that. You think, oh my God, do you know what I mean? But I think once you show the weak side, you're finished.
So you just got to stand tall.
Yeah.
And do what you're trained to do.
You've got to protect your colleagues as well. Like I said, I had a brick in my back. My colleague, he was knocked unconscious, down. The medics help him.
When you see a colleague get knocked down then, does that ratchet the whole situation up?
No. The medics will come after, they'll drag him away. and you're just forming your line and then being guided then by your sergeant inspector, hold the line, advance, etc.
It's like sort of gladiator.
Yeah.
Hold the line.
Yeah.
But aren't you thinking, you know, one of our guys is down, could be me next, something like that? Does it go through your head?
Yeah.
Have you got no time to think like that?
No, it's like an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
And, but how can I say? We were good then. I say we were probably one of the best trained PSU units in the country at that time.
So the confidence in that helped you.
Even our inspector, I won't mention his name, who's working in for UEFA now in Switzerland, he went on to progress because we all respected him, and even the English FA wanted him to work for him because he sorted a lot of problems out when Wales went to France with the Euros, and there was a lot of trouble with the English and Russians out there, and he sort of took control, and he's well respected. So we were good, and like you said, you do get you get some games you think, oh, this is going to be boring today. It's only so coming down, but that's how we were, you know.
So the brick hit you. What happened next?
Obviously, I stayed up. I could feel great pain into my back.
Whereabouts?
It was right in the back, lower back
Near
by
your
there.
tailbone.
Yeah, and I remember I didn't go straight away, but you fill the forms in, the F64Bs, injury on duty, etc. And I remember going to the hospital then and having an X-rayed and everything. And
so did you have to leave that area right away to get treatment?
No, I didn't go straight away. Obviously, it was at the end of the shift because, looking back, yeah, possibly I could have, but then you're leaving 2 men short out of the unit then. So obviously my colleague who got knocked unconscious, he's just out of the game, isn't he? So yeah.
So riot situations, particularly hairy, I can feel my adrenaline going already just listening to it. What about like one-on-ones with people with knives, perhaps guns, anything like that?
Again, it's adrenaline, isn't it? You, I think that's our job. That's what we're trained for.
Yeah.
And nobody joins the police to think, right, we're going to go in there. We're not going to be involved in any nasty incidents. Like I said, where I was working in Roach Police Station, there was a lot of nasty incidents every day. And it was common knowledge with knives and things like that. Loads of times we'd be stopping people early hours in the morning. They've got knives on them. They could have drugs. You know, that part of policing where I was at that time, it was, it didn't faze you really. The adrenaline would go when you stop, you know, you'd go to, you think, oh, we got to go to his house now, and, you know, warning markers and all that. But, and I think then there was more police officers as well. So if you went to a certain premises and you think, oh, this is a little bit griefy, you knew you were having backup. And I think today's policing, and we all know there's not enough policing. I think the clientele who has been employed in the policing, they're not streetwise. And this is a massive problem. They wanted all these college graduates and things like that. And I'll give you another example. I was the acting sergeant up in Lanisham, and there was a female officer, and she came from the prison service. She was brilliant. And she went to a violent domestic with another guy. I won't mention his name. And obviously she came back to the station. She said, Tony, can I have a word? So I said, yeah. She said, I can't work with him no more. So I looked, I said, what's he done now? So she said, well, we're in there. And now this guy is a college graduate. He would fly past and do an exam past me. And, you know, I would probably just scrape through the exam. He would do it. But to do policing work, basic policing, he didn't have a clue. And I remember she said I was taking the wife's details in the room. He's taking the husband's details. And the husband turned around to him and said, oh, the thing is, she's been getting on my nerves the last couple of months. That's why I've been having an affair. So he comes out of the kitchen, goes into the room and says to the wife, you better sort yourself out. He's already told me he's having an affair. He's what? Boom. And this is a college graduate. Do you see what I mean?
So you pull a car over and there's a knife in it. Do they generally just get arrested, or did they pull the knife and try and run off?
A lot of them would have the attitude, false name, address, things like that. So, and like I said, it's experienced policing. You know what's what.
And what else happens in that?
Burn a saint and altar card in your hands, and you actually take an oath.
And what is that oath?
The oath is, if you violate what you know about this life, betray your brothers, you'll die and burn in hell. It's like Saint is burning in your hands. And do you accept that oath? And I said, yes, I did.
Did you meet him, Sinatra?
Many times, yeah.
What was he like?
Great. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Constantly be thinking, wherever you go, that somebody one day may tap you on the shoulder.
It's
and exact what they would see as revenge for you breaking the code.
I know that that's a possibility, yes.
I mean, to me, it would be ridiculous to assume you hadn't. You can't be a mafia captain for that length of time, in charge of that number of people, and not kill people, can you?
Well, let me put it this way. You know, it's a violent life at times. And if you're part of the life, you're part of the violence. And yeah, as a captain, I was given an order, told what to do, I did it.
What do you think happened to him? There's two schools of thought. He hung himself, or he was murdered.
Not only did I spend time in that prison, I spent time on that tier.
Right.
Because I was in lockdown there. I mean, all those things happening at one time, the cameras are gone, the guards fell asleep. It doesn't happen. When I was in there, they were watching me 24/7.
And if they had those weapons in there, you know, they're coming in and you're taking them off the streets.
Were there times when they didn't want to come in?
Well, yeah, that would happen quite a few times down there, down Roach Station. And
any memorable stories of that happening?
Yeah, there was, obviously I can't say his name. I remember this guy, he's wanted, he was supposed to be in court. And I patrolling, it was a Friday morning. And I always remember it, stopped, checked him on the bridge. And he had a knife in his pocket. He had a vendetta with another guy, supposed to be going to his house. So when I found it, then obviously he tried to run, so I grab him, and then obviously the fighting starts. Another time, I always remember this was another nasty incident. It was another Friday. I was dropping an officer just before 10 o'clock to the court, which was only down the road from our station. And we're getting calls. Somebody has been seriously assaulted with a metal bar down Splot Road. So loads of phone calls are coming in. So, you know, this is, you know, it's not a false call. So I said to my colleague, Julie, I said, I'm going to have to divert and go down there. So we went down there. I could see the ambulance are there already, and it was about 20 people around this guy. But I see this Ford tipper van, and it's just going from the scene, and everyone's pointing at this van. So I'm looking at the van now. I decide, right, well, that's him. He's getting away. So I follow him. He refuses to stop. Eventually pulls in this lay-by. As I get out, I look up. There's a girl in there. She's got blood all over her face. And this guy, my colleague, she turned around. She identified who he was. And she went, oh, no, it's, you know, so I won't say his name. So, of course, my adrenaline now, I thinking, oh, my God, you know, this is one of the times, another time when I thought, oh, I'm going to get seriously assaulted here by this guy. So he said to me, I'm going to kill you, as he's going to get out of the van. So I pushed the door back and I got my spray out and I CS sprayed him in the face and I pulled him out then. And then obviously he's still trying to attack me. So again, I give a sweeping leg kick. He fell on the floor. Other units are coming in. So he gets arrested. And I remember it was a morning shift, 6 till 2. So when I came in the next morning, this guy, it was horrendous. He, with a metal bar, he took half a year off this student, who he didn't know. He was just high on drugs. There was loads of videos inside his house. There was computer stuff, drugs in it, everything. And I remember going to Crown Court about it. And I remember him saying to his sister, if I seen that guy over there who he assaulted, I would know him. And but yeah, that was a nasty incident.
Did he get some serious time, or was he?
Yeah, he went to prison a long time.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot on these videos and everything.
You're talking about kids?
No.
Okay. Violence or?
Oh, it was all sorts on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first murder cases you encountered?
Again, down Roach, as we're uniform officers, we go to a few murders, but of course, our main job then at that time was to preserve the scene, unless obviously the guy was there, which it was only that one when I was up in Lanishon, and I was a routine stop check. But a lot of the time you come in, you be preserving a scene and everything. So a lot of those go to major crime or the CID.
Can you take us through the first murder scene then?
The first,
or an early one if you can't remember the first.
Yeah, there's been a lot where I've just sort of turned up and you're just preserving a scene. That was my involvement, really. I wouldn't say I'd have direct access or whatever, and you'd be there for about 6 hours, 8 hours, signing a book, who's coming in, who's coming out. And so I think that was, at that time, that was a lot of the police officers' role then.
So preserving a scene, what does that mean?
Well, protecting all the evidence, forensic, stopping anybody coming in. Even if any senior officers wanted to come in, you'd have to, just to cover yourself.
Are you sometimes the first at that scene of the dead body?
I've been to some dead bodies where you've had to call, then obviously the CID, they take it over to see if it is, suspicious marks and things like that. You can give your report at the time. But I don't think I've dealt with anything who's actually been murdered there and then I'm like first on the scene. So
when you're preserving the scene, are you also in your head trying to analyse what's happened to that person, or is that someone else's? Yeah,
no. You can, you're doing your job, and you know what it's like, people talk, and then you get the neighbours or friends, so you're taking all this information out, and then obviously you'd record it on a statement and then give it to the major crime or the CID officers who's ever dealing with the case. So, you're just there, but obviously you're still gathering evidence yourself.
From other ex-cops that we spoke to, these cases tend to be domestic violence situations or drug-related. Was that the case for you as well?
With us, I think a lot of the deaths, I'd say, where we were working at the time was drug-related. A lot of suicides, it was drug-related, a lot of it.
And did that start to take a toll on you, encountering these scenes?
I don't think at the time, Sean, but I think when you look back, I look back at my career and I'm thinking about all these incidents. Like I said, I've been assaulted, I've been headbutted, another domestic.
What was the story there?
Violent domestic. This boy, or guy, he was well known, he was about 6'2". He assaulted his partner. And I always remember I had a young probationer with me. So obviously he had to arrest this guy, and we went into this cul-de-sac and the guy was there waiting. And or prior to that, I spoke to the girlfriend's mother, and she's slating the police saying, listen, I'm fed up with the police, they don't do nothing, he was arrested last night doing the same. And like I said to her, I said, well, listen, I said, you can't blame the police all the time. I said, I'll go around now, we'll arrest him. I said, obviously if there's evidence there, but it's the courts then who let him go. So I remember going down into this cul-de-sac and he sat there staring, vacant look. You could see obviously he's high as a kite. And I remember going up to him and I thought, well, the probationer can't arrest this guy now. So I went over to him. I said, oh, you're under arrest for assault. Yeah, he's fine. But he had that vacant look. So I put him in the back of the police car. So as I did, I said to my partner, just sit the other side of him. He's handcuffed. And as I went to grab my case, I always remember he just headbutted me full force in the nose. And my nose, and you got all the locals coming out laughing, and do you know what I mean? And that's quite intimidating. And obviously, loads of units turned up as well, so he got further charged and assault police. But again, I don't think he got done for a lot. And this is a job a lot of us put ourselves into. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I remember I thought he broke my nose. My nose was pouring with blood, everything. And then you're thinking, then looking back, you know, why did I put my head sort of, you know, and that's just a learning curve again. So,
on that learning curve, then, do you have to really attune to people's body language and the kind of energy they're giving off?
Yeah, well, like I said, to me, it's probably my complacent because I was very, very good. I can see people's body language, you know, see how they talk and everything. And I've always been very, very good at that. And to me, I think well, this guy's handcuffed, he's in a car. Shoot me, I'd just taken my briefcase out and it was my own fault, really.
Do you think you were overconfident and there was a lapse there at that point?
No, I wouldn't say I'm overconfident. I would say, and a lot of my colleagues would say, I was a confident, well thought of police officer.
No, I just mean in that moment when he headbutted you. Do you think you let your guard down?
No, because obviously I did, but looking back, the adrenaline's going.
Yeah.
And you know he's a nasty individual. He was arrested the night before. And you think like, well, he's handcuffed now and he's in the back of the car and everything's okay.
Yeah.
So obviously wasn't.
So throughout your 30s then, I mean, how long were you in this for?
I was down there for, I think, about 5-6 years.
5, 6 years. How long was your total career?
I'd done 18 years.
80s. So throughout your 30s then, are there any really memorable stories that we've missed out before we keep going?
I left there. I went up to Lanarkshire Police Station. Again, I had the highest arrest rate up there. I had good arrests, self-generated. I went into the community side of policing, which was great. I also done a stint traffic attachment. Everybody said, oh, you know, that must have been great on traffic. To me, yeah, it's nice driving a nice BMW or Volvo. But what I was finding as well is I was forever getting colds and the flu. And I think it's, you know, where you're driving and you're going to accidents all the time in every bad weather. Then you're getting back in a car with the aircon and all that. And a lot of time you're working on your own. And I like the camaraderie with the boys and things like that. And when I was on the police support unit, the riot police, we had a lot of overtime. So I looked at it as well, I'm on an attachment with the traffic department, but I'm taking less money. So, and it wasn't for me in the end. So,
I know one of the ex-cops told us that the worst stuff he ever saw was in traffic. There was a situation where a baby was crying in the back, and they took the second they took the baby out the seat, bam, crash, and the baby ended up dead, and he was at the scene. Did you have to attend scenes like that? I've
gone to scenes where children have been badly injured and conveyed to hospital. I can remember another time there was a guy, he was on a motorbike. It was a nice sunny day. He's on a main road taking a right turn. An old lady's pulling out. The son, obviously, she couldn't see this guy. She just whizzed out of this, took him off the bike. I remember, I thought, oh my God. And I see his bone out of his leg, parts and muscles all over the road. And he ended up having his leg amputated. And yeah, when you see things with children as well, you think, you know, it's terrible.
Is that the worst stuff you saw throughout your career, the stuff with the children?
Yeah, with the children.
Yeah.
Not just the accidents, but obviously where they've been physically abused and assaulted. I think that stays with you a lot.
And what about adults who are attracted to kids? Did you ever have to deal with those monsters?
Yeah, quite a bit. I can recall another time I was called... Me and my colleague, we went to this dress in Roach, and it was, I can't say the name. There was a guy who sort of chased out of an area in a subways area, and he hitched up with this other woman. And this woman, she was in work, and she had 3 lovely little girls. And when there was a domestic there with him and a girl. So when we done a check on the boyfriend, it come obviously... all the intelligence came that obviously he'd been a sex offender and everything. And what stuck with me with that was we contacted his girlfriend in work. So we mentioned it to her. And obviously I had two little young girls then at the time as well, so it always sort of hit you a bit. And I remember telling her that, this happened and this is where we are. And her response was, well, you haven't been convicted. I'm like, what? So, and this is where people are too trusting with everyone.
You got a duty to protect your kids?
Yeah.
Now, do you know how long she'd known that person?
A couple of months. Yeah.
Couple of months, and she was just that blasé.
I remember another time when
fit to be a mother.
There was a young boy, we were coming on duty, and it was a street opposite the police station, and he's crying. He's about 8, 9 years old. So I said, well, what are you doing out this time? And he's crying. He said, my father kicked me out of the house. Where do you live? Down there. So we walked down there, and I was asking questions. Where's your mother? She lives in another part of South Wales. So he said his dad, who's an army, retired army or something, come out of the army. He's having a party with all his mates. So we knocked the door. You can see all the music and lights going on. So the little boy's there crying. I said, is this your son? Yeah. And they both, I said, well, hang on a minute. I said, just you on your own, can you come out? And he's effing and blinding and cursing this little boy. So I called for the van, and then I grabbed his hand. I said, you're under arrest. So child neglect and that, and we ended up having a fight. So I cuffed him, put him in a van. Again, it was nights, and we were on double back the next day. So I came in and I asked my sergeant, I said, what's happened with this guy? Our social services have given a boy back to him, and there's a complaint about you for assault. Are you thinking, what am I doing? Nothing came of it, but that's the thing, Sean, that, it's always our fault.
That's got to be so frustrating when you're putting your life on the line. Anything can happen at any moment. So it sounds like, you got in, your intentions were great, you were around 30 years old. By the time you're hitting 40, are you still as enthusiastic, or as more reality set in?
No, I was still proactive then. I was still working on the streets and everything. It was a little bit later then when I thought, I need to do something different now. And so I thought there was a post coming up in the licensing department in Cardiff. And Cardiff licensing at that time was, or still is one of the busiest licensing areas in the UK. So I applied for everything, and I got accepted. So I went in there in 2008, September.
And what was the duties there like?
Again, it's like joining the police force again. It was, I had to get a degree in licensing laws. You're dealing with door staff. It's a different type of policing. And the thing is, Sean, you're dealing with a lot of drugs. You got a lot of clubs who's being run by drugs. You're taking their livelihood away. And you had to be spot on. And I remember going in that department because when I went in, there was a few problems before. There was stories of police officers who were in there before. They were having drinks, meals, things like that. And like I said, I'm squeaky clean. And, there's CCTV everywhere. So, being switched on, you cannot... you could be a good licensing officer, but you cannot be their best friend. And I got bribed quite a few times, and I wouldn't take a bean. And but when I did start, it took me about 6 to 10 months before I was sort of feeling my feet, because there's so much to learn about, and it's such an undercover world. Police officers, unless you've been in that environment, you would know.
So you said they're having drinks and meals. Do you mean with people in the underworld and club owners and things like that? Yeah,
there's gang-related. We used to stop certain DJs coming into Cardiff. We get in... And to be honest, we were really, really good at it, me and my colleague. We were a small department. And we used to get the intelligence before the South Wales Police Intelligence would get it. And I think there was a little bit of jealousy there.
So why would you stop a DJ?
If we had intelligence, because we would have some coming down from London, and we'd link in with the Metropolitan Police as well. We say, this guy has run these events and they've had shootings there, or, So we would go down and speak to the DPS, designated personal supervisor, and we would say, well, we're not happy with this because if it goes ahead, you've already had these instances. If this happens, we're going to review your license, and this is more ammunition. And 9 out of 10, I got to say, when I first went into the licensing, Sean, it was like, oh, another licensing officer. But everybody will tell you I was well respected in there. I was truthful. I was upfront. I would tell them how it is. I would get new people who say, you know, I'm going to open a new club now. So you say, all right, yeah, what type of music? Oh, we're having soft soul. We're not going to have no. I said, listen, you're not having soft soul. I said, you will get issues in you. You might have a glass in or whatever. You might have somebody in you with drugs. It's going to happen because you're in a licensing thing. It's when you start hiding it. I said, then we'll work together. I said, you know, you might have a glass in you or a big punch up. I said, well, I've got to answer my bosses when I go to tasking. So what I used to do, I'd have a lot of licensees, or they'd all have my own personal number. I even put my personal mobile number on my police card as well. And I'd say, if you had something really, really bad, I don't mean like a drunk who's been escorted or whatever, but if it's massive, I want to know before I go into work so I can look on the incident and I got the answers for the bosses. I said, because I don't want to look an idiot. I said, but obviously if it continued then we go down that line.
So what are the worst melees in the clubs?
It would be the DJs, I think.
The DJs?
Yeah, the DJs who'd they'd bring followings from Bristol, London, whatever. And, you know, we'd have people, serious assaults going on, everything.
What, like people from different regions fighting each other?
Yeah, they just come up. And,
what would be the motive for the violence? Just people high and drunk?
Drugs. I think it was. I remember one premises, it was the old Hard Rock Cafe, which somebody bought it when they closed down, and the things going on in there, and I had to close that down.
What was going on?
Oh, we getting DJs in there every weekend. Somebody was getting seriously assaulted. People being searched, you know, with drugs. There was a drug problem in there. There was things like when there was incidents in there, the CCTV, they wouldn't give it to us. That wasn't working. Well, that was a condition of their license. Just loads of breaches of their licenses.
So one cop, Neil Woods, he told us, like, if he arrested a burglar, like burglaries would stop, you know, in that area for a little bit. Arrested a car thief, the car thieves would stop. But if he arrested a dealer, the violence would increase because people would compete to take over that person's patch, and it didn't stop the substances flowing. They'd just be right back out there the next day. Did you find that you were up against like a tidal wave?
When I first went in there, Sean, there was a big problem. I can remember another premises in Westgate Street, and we were looking to review the license down there. And I remember coming in one day and we were looking at the CCTV because the bosses asked us, and there was loads of uniformed police officers going in downstairs into this premises, and next minute you've seen all the police being chased out. And I always remember...
the police being chased out?
Yeah, it was nasty. We were getting people knifed in it, all sorts. And I always remember going down there, we had to see the bosses and who was running the club. So we created an incident for our own safety because we're in there about 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon having a meeting. And I remember sat down and the people there who were saying who they were weren't who they were. And I knew we were being watched or whatever on cameras. And, you know, that was a bit, that's one of the hairiest things I've seen. And in the end, because of the pressure we put on, they just give the license up. And it's a nasty underworld.
Big money.
You know, I can't say too much, but a lot of criminals attached to these places, it blow your mind away. You think, what? You know, and that's the pressure you're under. And, you know, it's uncomfortable. And you've got to be impartial. You know things. And even when the bosses are coming up, which I got so good at my job, the bosses would be coming up and they say, no, what can we do with this? And I think, well, I'm only a PC. You're a superintendent, chief inspector, and you're asking me. So the responsibilities and all that, Sean, was really, really high, but I was well respected. And I had a good rapport with all the door staff, everything. And that never happened before.
So you mentioned some officers, you know, having meals out with these people. Did you ever see the weaponization of women, like honey traps, like sending women to seduce officers?
I haven't seen that. I've had sort of hints and things like that. And like I said, I've been offered bribes and things like that, Sean. And first of all, I wouldn't take it. I'm an honest cop as they come. And secondly, I don't want to be in their pocket, because it could be me next week saying, oh, hang on a minute. Ah, yeah, but you had a free meal, or you, do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, there's CCTV everywhere, which is good, I think. I think it's brilliant. And if there's, we'd find a lot of places where there was incidents, you'd always find the CCTV one working in that place. So, you know, and like I say, you speak to all the door staff. It took me about 12 months for the door staff to think, oh, hang on, Tony Roach is a good guy. He's not out here. Because I'd have talks with him, Sean, and I'd say, well, I've worked with bar cops. I'm not saying we're all good. And like you lot in here, I give talks. You know yourself, you're working with good door staff and it's bad door staff. And I'm not here to sort of get you off the doors. And I tell them I couldn't do their job. I couldn't stand on there and deal with drunks for 10, 12 hours. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you do something stupid, especially if it's on camera, well, I've got to... And I had a great rapport with them in the end. They were brilliant. And when I was in that department, violent crime was reduced every single year. And I even had the police accommodation for it as well.
Brilliant. How long were you in that department?
I was in there when in 2008. And then I was dismissed from the force on the 3rd of April, 2015, a day after my 50th birthday.
So what happened? Why did you leave licensing in the first place?
Because I was dismissed from the force.
You was dismissed from the force. So you were in licensing all the way to the end?
Yes.
So that was a long time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So what other notable stories happened over that period of time before your dismissal?
Just premises, you know, I'd be taking premises to review and I'd have complaints made against me. I'm picking on the premises. You know, there was a female sergeant who her brother was running a premises in a city centre of Cardiff. And I always remember he came in one day, he'd only been open about 6 months, and he wanted an extension of his licensing hours. So when he came in, my colleague turned around and said, oh, Tom, can you come in this meeting? I said, what for? So he said, oh, well, he wants extra hours. I said, well, just tell him, because we all had different roles and different premises to manage. I said, well, just tell him. I said, oh, Tom, can you come in? So I went in there, what do you want? I want extra hours. And I basically told him, you got to be joking. You've been open 6 months. We've had people who's been bottled in there. We've got CCTV where people have jumped on the counter, ripped the till out, fighting, and serious assaults in there. And there's no way. So unbeknown to me, the female sergeant who worked in the Cardiff city centre, she was emailing me. She wanted to see me. So I bumped into her down Cardiff Bay Police Station. And she said, what's this? You turned my brother down for a licence. So I said, who's your brother? So she explained. I said, you got to be joking. I said, you know, he's lucky he won't have a licence if he don't sort it out. And I always remember her words. She said, I thought we could have bent the rules. I'm like, what? So anyway, I reported that to my sergeant because you've got to be squeaky clean. So I'm doing undercover work one day when Wales Rugby was playing. It's a major event in the city centre where all the licensed premises in Cardiff city centre got to use plastic glass vessels. They've got to have door staff and everything. So I said to my colleague who's doing attachment, I said, I want to call in this club. So as we call in the club, I see the female sergeant off duty, intoxicated, serving drinks behind the bar. There's no licensee in her. There's drugs in her. Basically, there's loads of breaches of the licensing conditions. So anyway, I told the female sergeant, when your brother contact me Monday, I explained the situation to my sergeant on the Monday. So my sergeant turned around and said, well, you've got to put a report in about it. So I said, well, I'll speak to the sergeant. No, he said, you've got to put, so I put a report in. And from that moment on then, I found out that this officer got disciplined. She got moved out of Cardiff to an outer station. And I'm target number 1 now. And I didn't know at the time, but all I'll say, Sean, she had a very, very close association with the senior officers. And when I say senior officers, I would say the chief superintendent and the assistant chief constable. And as we're talking now, they know the names. And so I was target number 1 because of their close association and me doing my work.
How did that initially manifest, you being targeted?
Well, just before that time, we had a female officer who was on restricted duties since I joined in 2008. So the only full-time officers covering all Cardiff and the outskirts was a civilian officer, myself, who was a police officer, and my police sergeant. My police sergeant was always away because he was always doing meetings for the bosses in Cardiff Central. So a lot of the work was being left to me. And like I said, violent crime was reduced every single year with me in that job. And I was totally respected. But obviously, because of that report I put in, we'll go on to it, but I was under investigation then. They wanted to get me for something. And this is where all the corruption comes in. I was under investigation covertly for 18 months. And at the end of that, I went into work. I always remember it this time. I went into work, done my work on a computer. I'm going to a meeting. As I'm coming out of a meeting, the police professional standards, the PSD, are waiting for me and they arrest me. And I'm just, not only was I suffering with stress and everything in work at that time, I'm like, what? I am stunned. And I could have dropped on the floor. So I said to him, again, what have you arrested me for? Misconduct in public office and income tax fraud. So I'm, what? So I got to tell you, prior to this, we had a small car sales business. It was all legit. It were a business interest went in. It was my wife's business, although I was active in it. She had her own accountant. All her tax affairs was in order, everything. So I'm thinking, well, why the tax thing? First of all, it's nothing to do with the police. The misconduct, I couldn't get my head around what the misconduct was. What have I done wrong? So I was taken to a police station up the valleys. As I'm going up there, I can hear on the PSD officers, they've arrested my wife. I'm thinking, what's going on here? So I remember going in now, Sean, and as I'm going in there, I'm just away with the fairies. I can remember it now when they're saying, misconduct public office. But I'm thinking, well, I want to know where's the evidence? What have I been arrested for? And the only thing I could gather was income tax fraud. But I'm thinking, well, all our tax affairs in order and you haven't proved any evidence. So what they done with me, they stuck me in a room at the bottom where the cells were. And I was down there. I couldn't eat. I felt physically sick. I thought I was going to pass out. And I remember then the Federation appointed me a solicitor. So he turned up. I was arrested about 12:20, just after midday. He turned up about 5, 6 o'clock. So you can imagine all the stress I'm under and what's going on. I'm thinking my wife's been arrested. And he came into me then. He had consultation with the professional standards officers. So what they told him, this solicitor thought I was a guilty man. You could see, because he came in, he said, right, I've had consultation. I want to go through some things with you. And so as he's going through then, and I'm answering every single question, he said, so I could see then, hang on, this officer have done nothing wrong. All this is made up. So I get interviewed then about my timekeeping in work, about me playing football, leaving half hour early to play football for the force, and a car sales business as well. So again, they had nothing to charge me. So I was, I get bailed to attend then the police station, again at Tom Pentra in March, along with my wife. She's been bailed. So I asked my wife about what did they ask her, you know, why was she arrested for? They said, well, income tax fraud, but they never asked me anything. They were asking questions about you. I said, well, have they proved any evidence about income tax fraud? Because we knew everything was legit and all in order. No. So then, of course, I'm not well. And I end up going to the forced doctor and everything, and I'm away with fairies. So I'm on medication a lot. So I get interviewed again. And as I go in there now, the officer who arrested me, he was acting inspector, he's got a HMRC investigator with him now. So we sit down, he's got all these papers. So he starts asking me questions. I'm answering all of them. So then it's my wife's turn to go in to be questioned by him and this HMRC investigator. So, and my wife, she's pretty switched on. She said, Tony, she said, this investigator from HMRC, I don't think he knew what he was on about. She said, because I had to tell him and everything. So we're thinking, hang on, something's not right here. So then we get bailed then to attend the police station again in June. My wife, she gets NFA'd. You don't have to come back. You know, we got nothing against you. So I go in there now. My health is really deteriorating. I'm like, you know, weight loss, everything. And I go into that police pace interview and I'm in there and I'm pressurised. I wasn't fit to be interviewed, Sean, to be honest. And even the forced doctor, he put comments in the way I've been treated and investigated. And then he's put, I've been overworked, everything in there. So I break down an interview and she said, are you all right? I said, no, my head's shot. I said, I just want to get out of here. You know, I don't know where I am and, you know, whatever. So they insist they want to stop the interview. I said, no, I just want to get out of here. Whatever, you know, just get over with. They stop the interview. So they breach pace. They don't get me examined by a forced doctor or any doctor to see if I'm fit for the interview, which I know I wasn't now looking back. I come out of there and obviously I'm bailed to attend another date because, again, they had nothing. So I think it was around about September then, August, September, my federation rep, she says that there's no criminal charges to be brought against you. And I think, oh, that's great. Well, I know I haven't done anything. She said, however, you've got to go to a gross misconduct hearing. I said, well, what for? What have I done? She said, oh, well, you'll have the papers soon and all that. So when the papers come through, it said, I left work early to buy a car. No. They said, you left work half hour early to go and play football for the force. No. Your pocket notebook was 3 days out of date. Well, all my work was diary-based, and that's not gross misconduct. So I said about my diary, where is it? That's gone missing. They said, we believe the business was yours, not your wife's. Well, we proved, even on paper, it was my wife's. You've interviewed everything. So, and they said that you didn't submit the business interest. And I had. And luckily, I had a photocopy of it. So anyway, prior to me going to my gross misconduct, I'm asking South Wales Police now for my mitigation of evidence. And I can provide emails where the police professional standards, who's supposed to be, you know, shift out anti-corruption and everything, Sean, my solicitor's asking for this mitigation, like my time cards, my phone records, all proof I'm working, and statements and that. And I've got it on email. You tell us why you want it for, and we'll decide if you have it. So then my solicitor be putting pressure on, who are paid by the Federation. Listen, we've only got a week to go. We still haven't had this. We got to get our case. Just ignored it. They didn't provide me any mitigation. So what happened then, I'm told the weekend before my misconduct, on a late Friday, one of the panel members, the superintendent, has pulled out. He's not sitting on my panel. But he's going to be chaired by this other superintendent. So I go into this, I always remember it, Sean, I turning up, I was ill, I just didn't want to go through those doors. And I remember my solicitor saying, Tony, we've got to get in there to clear your name and get the evidence. It was a kangaroo court. I go up there, stuff what I requested weren't given to me. People I asked to give evidence weren't allowed. I end up getting dismissed from these minor things. So my police federation rep, and I always remember at the time of my misconduct hearing, she came up to me in one of the days, she said to my solicitor and myself, she said, oh, if you want me, I'll be in a PSD office, Professional Standards office, having a coffee with them. I'm like, my stomach just churned. I thought, you what? You're supposed to be representing me. You've told me you don't even know where their offices are. So I'm stunned now. So I get sacked, and she came up to me. She said, Tony, I've got to follow you home now. So I said, what for? I've got to get all your uniform and everything. She said, I said, please have a bit of sympathy for me. I said, my wife's going to be upset. Can I give it to you Monday? Oh, no, it covers yourself. So I was treated like, you know, really, really like I was nothing. So I remember her following me home, and I remember, shall I just crash my car? And, you know, things were going through my head. Yeah. And I told her then, do not come on my drive. I'll put it in a box and I'll bring it out. I was just gone. And then from that moment on then, my mental health then obviously deteriorated further. And I tried to commit suicide. There was... I was going to jump off a bridge, a railway bridge. And then I ended up in a crisis mental health. I was heavily sedated and everything. And I couldn't gather what had gone on and why. And everybody I was speaking to, they were saying, you've upset somebody. And I was thinking, well, what have I done? I've done my job the best I can. I haven't done anything wrong. These things you sacked me for are not... Had you given me my mitigation of evidence, I would have been... everything would have been quashed. So my solicitor turned around then and said that you've got to put an appeal in. But of course, my head's gone. So he helps me submit an appeal against my dismissal. And I put it, obviously I was suffering stress and everything, which was all documented before the arrest as well. So obviously with me under the crisis mental health, I'm just away with the fairies. I don't know what's going on. I remember taxis picking me up, taking me up to the mental health office, hospital, sorry. I didn't know where I was. And then I get a letter then in September from the chair of the Police Appeals Tribunal. And in his report, I'm reading it, and it's just stating a pack of lies what Saltways Police have told this chairperson. And he says at the end, you've got no chance of any appeal. So I think, well, I haven't put my case forward. So I ask the Saltways Police Crime Commissioner, who I'll go on in a minute, who's heavily involved in this, Sean. I asked him, I said, can you provide me all the documentation? Because I haven't had an appeal. I've put my appeal in, and all I've had is no, you know, I was waiting for a date to attend. I've had no appeal, and I want all the mitigation of evidence you've given to the board so I can look at it and see, you know, what you've put in, because it's all wrong reading this report. So I get back from the Saltways Police Commissioner's office. No, you're not having any of the evidence we've submitted to the chair. And so I asked them a reason why. They said it's, what was it? Oh, I can't think of the word now. Anyway, you're not having it. So I'm thinking, what? So, of course, a lot of ex-senior officers, they know my case. Sean and I'm well thought of. So they're disgusted. So they put me in touch with a couple of good officers who's retired. And I got to say, if it wasn't for them, I don't know where I'd be now. They've been helping me to get justice all this time. So as it transpires then, later that year, we find out that the Assistant Chief Constable who sat and chaired my misconduct panel, along with the Superintendent, is only involved in my investigation. He's also got the Assistant Chief Constable, an association, I'll say, with his female sergeant. So this is where everything sort of like a jigsaw's coming together. And I'm thinking, I can't believe this. So I've got emails to this ACC, and I'm asking him about his position with the Professional Standards Department, because he is head at that time of the Professional Standards Department. So he ignores a lot of my emails. He won't answer. I send emails then to the Chief Constables. They won't answer. I send it then to the Data Protection Office in South Wales Police, and I get a response, and it says that the ACC has nothing to answer to. So you can imagine now, Sean, you know, I root out corruption, and I've been honest throughout. And I'm like thinking, hang on a minute, I've been targeted here. So I go on their website, and I've got this Assistant Chief Constable who's pictured and head of the Professional Standards Department who's investigated me. He's head of that department. The Superintendent was also head of the surveillance. So this is going on now for a number of years now, and I'm trying to get answers. I'm trying to get an appeal. So I informed my federation, and my federation just abandoned me. And so then the guy who's head of the federation at the time, I said, listen, I've got all this evidence that my misconduct hearing, not only was it unlawful, the investigation, but the hearing itself is it's unlawful. And anybody sitting on a panel of a police, under the police regulations, sitting on a panel, I give them the regulations, they cannot be sitting on or chairing that panel if they've been involved in investigation. And the Federation have abandoned me. Now, I've been in touch with other officers who's had the same, been dismissed as well for something minor. And this Assistant Chief Constable was sitting on their panel, and he was also involved in he's head of the investigation. So as we move on now, my federation, they won't fund me. I'm sending them all the evidence. And I know why. They don't want to expose South Wales Police for another miscarriage of justice. But worse than that, Sean, this is going on now. This is bordering on these senior officers, including the Crime Commissioner, who's refused me a lawful appeal. He did write back to me and said, under the circumstances, under the provisions, you cannot have a second appeal. So I written back to him. I said, well, first of all, can you give me the legislation that says I can't have a second appeal? 2, can you tell me where did I have my first appeal? I've never had one. And you've never given me the evidence you've submitted to the chair. Won't answer it. You're not having one. So that's where we are with that, which I'll come on about him, the Crime Commissioner. So what happened then, prior to all this going on, I'm trying to go to the Employment Tribunal. So I've had to sell my car. I've got no funding. So I go to an Employment Tribunal, and I always remember the judge. He was fantastic. And he said, right, he said, this, put all the things in place. South Wales Police wanted to adjourn it. They said, we haven't got our evidence. And again, they didn't give me evidence. So for my case, so I agreed to adjourn it so I can get it all. So when it came to another date, there was a different judge. And the judge turned round. I explained I still haven't been provided with my evidence. I've told them these 2 senior officers were involved in my investigation. And then they sat and chaired my panel, which is unlawful. So she said, oh, you're too late. You should have brought it within 3 months. I said, well, I couldn't bring in 3 months because 1, I was ill. 2, South Wales Police wouldn't give me my mitigation of evidence. And 3, it's South Wales Police who took me all the time, not me. So that was that. So anyway, I get a no-win, no-fee solicitor now. And I give him all the details. And he was fantastic, this solicitor. And every time I was giving him stuff, he said, Tony, this is TV media stuff here. He said, I can't believe. So I said, no. So he's asking disclosure now from South Wales Police. And I remember I get this package now. And I'm reading it now out my back garden. And I just started heaving, being sick. And I'm looking at it, and it wasn't a 5-6 month operation. This operation would be going for 18 months, the taxpayers' money. And I estimate it to be around about 2 million plus of taxpayers' money. So obviously they wanted something for their money.
Oh my God, I can't believe what I'm hearing. It's like this is like some of a Kafka novel.
So I write to the crime commissioner. I said, can you give me an estimated value? It was called Operation Kansas. So he turned around, he said 60,000. So I said, no, that's not true. I wrote back to him, can you give me the true figure? At the time, I thought it was about 1.5 million, but I speak to a lot of people, they said 2 million plus. I said, there was another case in 2008, South Wales Police done a COVID operation on him, it was about 5-6 months, and they admitted in 2008, they wouldn't give the true figure, they admitted it was around about £500,000 they spent. So they've been investigating me for 18 months, and also I find out it wasn't just South Wales Police who was following me covertly, it was Gwent Police and Dyfed-Powys Police. So they've been following me for 18 months. I'm looking further then, Sean, at the paperwork. I find out they've been in my house, burgled my house without a warrant.
What?
I've got stuff where they've said, this is where he keeps this is where his wife keeps her money, in his cupboard in the bedroom. Now the only way, and she's got a door, a corridor door, which is locked into the bedroom. Well, who's got a long corridor, which then goes into another door into the bedroom? So that's evidence I can prove they've been in my house. Then I look at they got a warrant later on to get all the car sale invoices. So I look at the warrant. They've committed perjury to the judge, saying that I've guilty of income tax fraud, which we hadn't. So they've lied to the court judge. So then I'm looking at some of these intelligence reports, and I can see now where they've got 2 well-known, one Cardiff criminal and one from Newport, in police entrapments with me. I've been subject to being threatened. I was coming out of a meeting. I was threatened by this one guy who's a known criminal, and I know now he's an informant. He's threatened me with violence. It was a midday in a pub, and my colleague was there with me, and there was all Talion undercover officers in that pub. And I can remember, looking back now, I can remember seeing certain faces in there. Why are they in this pub? But obviously it all tied in.
What did he say to you?
He said that he made false allegations. I was taking cash envelopes, and no evidence whatsoever. In his statement, he puts that I was in a meeting with another door staff company and I seen him passing envelopes. Well, so if that was the case, why wasn't I arrested at the time? And this guy is a constant fabricating liar, and I've proved it. And so when I start looking, so I've been threatened with them. I've been threatened with other heavies coming to get me. And even on taxes, I've reported that to the police. I don't see any threats in that. And the guy who did make the threats, a couple of months before, he was found guilty of doing the same to somebody else with phone taxes, but they didn't want to know. So when I'm looking then, Sean, at all the disclosure the police have given my solicitor, like I said, I felt physically sick. So they put in there that I was taking cash envelopes. So that was proved wrong. So they were doing this to get the surveillance, the Ripper Authority. So they've lied to get Ripper Authority to follow me, everything. Every month, this Ripper Authority had changed. They'd lie South Wales Police. The next month then, I was accused of giving certain things from the computer to the criminals. No, I wasn't. And that was disputed. The following month then, I was a drug dealer. I've never taken drugs. I've taken paracetamol, if that counts. I've always been really healthy and everything. And then they said the following month, I was emptying all the drug safes in Cardiff and I was supplying all the door staff. Well, I made inquiries about this after, and the guy said, who was in charge of that, the drug safes, there was only one key for every drug safe in Cardiff. And that was kept at Cardiff Central Police Station, not Cardiff Bay where I worked. I couldn't even tell you where the key was. And that used to be I think it was the community officers used to go around once a week or once every other week, empty them and get them destroyed. But we didn't get involved. So I know the professional standards departments made contact with the sergeant in charge of that community officers who he wanted to know what's the circumstances, the profile, how they release the drugs. So they had all that. But they still said that, when I didn't have access to any drugs, so there was that. Then I committed income tax fraud. Well, I never. That was all, do you know what I mean? Everything was squeaky clean with that. No offences. Then they said they were going out and asking licensees, because that all came back to me, did Tony ever ask for free drinks or meals and things like that? And of course, all this, Sean, was going on through the investigation because they wanted me for something. And so you can imagine all these allegations. So they've lied through Ripper to get authority. They've intercepted my phone for lies, my landline and my mobile phone. They've entered my house without a warrant. Then they've got warrants later on. I think it was a couple of days before they arrested me, to get the invoices and search my house, looking for anything and anything. And they lied, committed perjury to the court judges for that. So anyway, I've turned around and obviously with the help of ex-officers and all that, we've tried to put a case forward, and especially with the Assistant Chief Constable, who then gets promoted to Deputy Chief Constable. Then he's retired then a couple of years ago, and the Crime Commissioner supports this senior officer for the Queen's Medal for his services. So I'm thinking, well, you've supported this senior officer who's perverted the course of justice and you know about it. So I get a letter from the Commissioner when I did make a complaint about this senior officer, and he wrote to me and he said, the ACC, the Assistant Chief Constable, was specially selected for your gross misconduct hearing by the professional standards. Their boss have specially chosen him, and he hasn't been involved at all in your investigation. That's why he was chosen. So I've sent him documents, what I've had from my solicitor, all disclosure, and you've got the Chief Constable's name, other senior officer's name. Where it's come from, the authorisation, it's got the Assistant Chief Constable's name, but they've redacted his name. They haven't redacted other names. They put everyone's number, even the Chief Constable at the time, but they've redacted that. So I've tried to go to county court, and again, I didn't get anyway because they said, like, obviously it's too long or something, and no, you can't have it. I've contacted the Information Commissioner's office about getting certain data. They still won't allow me. It's like all these government things are in place. So then I make a complaint. And also in the disclosure, which knocked me for 6, I find out that the commissioners have met one of these known criminals in Penarth Police Station. So he's involved as well in investigation. So this is why he won't give me an appeal against my dismissal. So you've got all these senior officers involved and the chief constables know about it. I've emailed them and spoke to them. I've asked them for meetings, everything. They will not meet me. So I make complaints then to the, it was the IPCC then at the time. And the head of the IPCC, I won't mention her name, she writes back and says, no, we monitored your investigation from start to finish and we're happy with the investigation. So we've written back, Sean, we said, well, are you happy then that they've committed serious criminal offences, perverting the course of justice, tampered with evidence and everything? And they won't answer it. So the IPCC then change over to the IOPC. So the head of the IOPC, I've written to them, I've given them the evidence, everything. They will not meet me. They will not see me. Now, there was a recent case, like I said, South Wales Police have got the most miscarriages of justice. You've got the Cardiff 3, the Lynette White, which is, the Lynette White, it's the most taxpayers' money ever for a miscarriage of justice in the UK. You've got the Darvell brothers, you've got the Cluddock murders. Do
you want to go over those cases now, or does that come later?
Yeah, we'll come later with that.
Okay.
So, you know, I've spelled this out to the IOPC, and I've asked them, can you meet me? You know, I'm a serving police officer at the time. I'm honest and everything, and I've got crucial evidence to support what I'm saying. They will not come near me. They said, no, what you must do is give it to South Wales Police so they can investigate themselves. I said, well, they're the ones who's committed it. Yeah, exactly. They're the ones who've committed these serious offences. So this has been going on, Sean. So being, when I've tried to ask for certain, like my phone records, the Information Commissioner have told South Wales Police, and I've got it all there, you've got to give him his phone records unredacted. They still haven't done it. Because they know that would be proof of me working and everything, and they'd have to pay me more money out of hours. I'd done more work or whatever. Regarding me leaving early for five-a-side football or leaving work early to go and buy a car, they produced a dummy job description which didn't apply to me. When I asked for my proper job description, which said your role is a flexible role, you do loads of unsociable hours and everything. My sergeant agreed, chief inspector, superintendent, they all agreed that my work was perfect. I would do a lot of split shifts because I had to deal with door staff in the evening. You can't get them in a day, and it suited me. So I asked them for my time card, which is electronic. If you come through that door, you buzz it, it even tell you what door you're coming in, Sean. And do you know what they said? We lost it. My job description, they said, the one I signed, which was a flexible role and everything, in 2008, they said that don't exist. So an ex-officer in 2018, who lives in a different area of South Wales Police, he knows the plight of my story. He said, don't worry, Tone, I'll apply for it. They give it to him within 2-3 weeks. My proper job description. The thing where they said that they believe the business was my wife's, not mine, after they reported us to the HMRC, and they'd done a thorough investigation. There was no penalties, no nothing. So going back to the HMRC then, we also inform the IOPC that this HMRC investigator, who named himself Greg Jones, was not a HMRC investigator. It appears now he was an undercover police officer, which that's a criminal offence, purporting to be a government official. So we've contacted the head of the HMRC. I've gone through the offices and everything, and they've said that they haven't got a Greg Jones working for us. I did trace one Greg Jones who was working in Stafford and Manchester. So I contacted him. He said, no, I've never been an investigator. All I deal with is media stuff. So I've asked the police, South Wales Police, can you give me the contact details of this Greg Jones, who's purporting to be a HMRC investigator? And they said, no, ask HMRC. HMRC said, no, you ask South Wales Police, it's their investigation. I've also requested the notes he made in a police pace interview, which are disclosable. They will not give them to me. So as this have been progressing and me trying to get justice, I'm in contact and I find out with somebody that I get a copy of my, transcript of my police pace interviews. And I can prove now there's extracts meeting from there. So I've asked them for it. And they said, no, that's what it is. So I've asked, I want to examine a copy of my police pace interview, CD tape interview, unopened. It's taken me years, so they finally agree for me to go down Swansea police station, miles away where I live. So I go down there with somebody, because obviously you can imagine, with all these people following me and everything, I don't trust them. The last thing I want to do is go in a police station on my own. So I'm down there. This female inspector comes out with another officer and they start filming me and saying that they're going to assist me. And they're professional standards officers. They shouldn't be involved in it anyway. So she said, you're not coming in with him. I went, hang on a minute. I said, I'm not going in there on my own. Oh, you're refusing. No, I'm not refusing. So this is going on. Yeah, come on, he's refused. So they walk away and slam the door. They will not let me see my pace recorded interviews because they know they've tampered with that. I've asked for the CCTV in that foyer of that police station. They will not give me that. And the police officer who had the body cam on it. So that would evidence her being obstructive, refusing me access again, because they know they've committed serious offences. The same officer, my wife's made a complaint to her for the false arrest. So she said, well, can you send me the information? So she was given, all you need to do is look at her custody record. And it says the DP, defendant, has been arrested because she has, not reasonable suspicion, she has submitted inflated invoices to avoid tax avoidance. Well, first of all, that's a HMRC investigation, not the police. So, like I said earlier, Sean, she was interviewed. They never asked her anything to do with her tax affairs. But she just bailed her till March when we had that undercover officer purporting to be a HMRC who knew nothing about taxes. And since then, obviously, she gets NFA'd, no further action. So then we've asked South Wales Police, can you provide the evidence or the invoices where my wife has submitted these inflated invoices because it's a false arrest, imprisonment? They won't answer it. So the girl, the acting inspector she was in the PSD, professional standards, she just said, no, I've shut the case and that's the end of it. And it's terrible. But this is what we've been through, Sean. And, I went to a police medical appeals board on the 24th of July last year to get my injury on duty award. Again, the Federation will not help me, assist me. And I feel deeply let down. They won't help me for an appeal against my lawful appeal. They know exactly what's gone on, but they are covering for the police South Wales Police senior bosses and the police crime commissioner. So I've made serious complaints to the IOPC. Now, what galls me, I don't know if you know, but a lot of your viewers would have seen the programme in Avon and Somerset, To Catch a Copper. And I look at the police professional standards unit, the anti-corruption unit, who investigates police officers. Who's investigating South Wales Police PSD officers who've committed serious criminal offences? The IOPC know about it. They've known about it for years. They will not arrest, I won't say his name, they will not arrest the crime commissioner because they know it will expose serious criminal offences, corruption within his force. It will also mean, which I can prove, the 3 chief constables knew about it and has conspired with them. The assistant chief constable and the superintendent. I've got statements from very senior officers to say this and anti-terrorist officers to say this Assistant Chief Constable, who was involved in my investigation, and he sat and chaired my misconduct panel, was definitely head of the Professional Standards Department. I've got another ex-officer who's asked from the Data Protection Office the profile of this Assistant Chief Constable with these dates, and they've given it to him. And then when he's made a complaint, they said, oh no, our computers were down. And it's just lie after lie after lie. And the IOPC, they need to look at themselves. They need to be reviewed, because I look at this programme with the Avon and Somerset Police, and a couple of them, complaints have been made, and within less than 6 months, these people have been arrested and dealt with, whatever. The Crime Commission has committed serious criminal allegations. He's been involved in my investigation. He's refused me a lawful appeal. He's perverted the course of justice by not allowing and giving in my mitigation of evidence. I've never had a first appeal, but also with new evidence, surely I'm entitled to a fresh appeal. But he knows it's going to really cause serious damage to his force. And the confidence is so low with Saltways Police already, Sean. And this is another miscarriage of justice, you know, which has been the head of. And it's just all covered up with the IOPC.
Let me just go over a few things then. So you put almost 20 years of your life into this job.
Yeah, which I loved.
You, as an honest person, reported the female sergeant, and then all this chain of events happened.
Yeah.
You're 100% convinced it's because of that report. There couldn't have been anything else.
Yes, because I looked at the, when I put the report in May 2012, and the investigation Operation Kansas started June 2012.
Would you say then that, you know, when we hear about police corruption in the media, often it's a bad apple? You know, it's a minority of police that do this. It's acceptable. It's human nature. We can't weed them all out. From what you're saying, it seems that it's thoroughly corrupt, the whole system. There's good guys, but the bad guys are running the show.
Exactly. And the problem you got, Sean, and I've got to say this, I've written to the 2 Home Secretaries. They haven't replied. I've written to the Home Office. The Home Office turn around and say, oh no, you've got to report it to the IOPC. You go to the IOPC, they say, oh no, you've got to go to your force, Saltways Police Professional Standards Department, to conduct an investigation. They won't do that because they know, how can they investigate themselves? Because they're the ones who's committed all this serious corruption. So if you're not happy with that, you go to the IOPC, and that's where we are still, with the IOPC. They've done nothing.
So I'm trying to think of...
It's a merry-go-round.
I'm trying to think of their incentives to suppress this. Do they include, they don't want to be embarrassed to the public, they don't want to be held to account for spending all that money for nothing,
yeah,
and the corrupt are protecting the corrupt, because if it does come out, the whole apple's rotten.
Yeah, and why shouldn't it come out? You know, don't get me wrong, Sean. If I've done something wrong criminally, I'll put my hands up. And I've been honest. My record itself, I've been fantastic. Yeah, I've seen some officers, and I think, well, yeah, you know, quite rightly, you shouldn't have done this or whatever. But when you got a whole department, an anti-corruption unit, who's supposed to be fishing out corruption within their force, and yet they're the ones who's committing more corruption within, and they're allowed to get away with it. The Home Office, the Home Secretary, the IOPC are condoning it because they don't want to go near it. And I think I mentioned to you prior to coming in, Operation Midland. My circumstances with all these false allegations and everything, I think it was Harvey Proctor, the MP, because he had a bit of money, that was dealt with. And like I said, the Federation have abandoned me. They will not, and it's not just me, there's other officers around the country. And as we speak, Sean, I know there's a massive petition going round for an independent review of the Police Federation. I've even got letters where the head of the Federation at that time wrote to the solicitor to assess if I had a case. And what he done, he slandered my name. He said, Tony, it is alleged, not he has, it is alleged he has been associating with the criminal fraternity. Well, I haven't been associating with them. Saltways Police Professional Standards have. They've been using criminals in entrapments and everything, trying to get a result on me. And I can prove that. And like I said, this have got to be out there because I want to try and get a public inquiry into Saltways Police, the professional standards. It's people's livelihoods, careers, and, you know, their good name. And they think they can sort of pull anybody in, use unlawful tactics and commit serious criminal offences to try and get rid of somebody. Now, don't get me wrong, if this operation took 18 months, surely they would have had something criminal on me. And this is included in entrapments and everything, which they failed.
Are these people connected to the Freemasons?
I would say yes, definitely. I think, you know, I can't prove it, but I'm informed by quite a few. And this is what I mean when I've gone to court. I'm convinced every time I've tried to go to court, I think the Freemasons have got a massive impact on the result of going in. Now, the same again, Sean, when I went on to, I got to tell you, when I went to my Police Medical Appeals Board, again, I had to sell my car to fund it. The Federation would not fund me. And, you know, I'm still suffering mental health, PTSD. You know, loads of times I think I'm still being followed, or I get angry in certain situations. So I've gone there and I've asked for evidence for my case. I've had to get money and sell my car to fund for me to get a solicitor to represent me. The chair of the Police Medical Appeals Board, this doctor, you've got 3 doctors on it, but you've got the main chair. He was told weeks before and a week before, Saltways Police have not given me my mitigation of evidence. He told them on the day as well. So the chair wasn't bothered. He said, well, that's to do with Saltways Police, but surely any other judge, if you go to court and you say, well, the police won't give me my mitigation of evidence, they'll either adjourn it or they'll award it in that person's case. So while I was there then, my wife was sat behind me and the 2 solicitors were out of the room, and my wife was recorded what the chair said. He turned around to me and he said, is that right? You said the employment tribunal judge was corrupt. I said, what? They said, you said the employment tribunal judge was corrupt. I went, no, I never. I said, I'll tell you the judge's name, which I did. I can remember it. So I told him the name. I said, he was fantastic. I said, Saltways Police wanted an adjournment. I said, and we adjourned it. And then we had a female judge. And when I went there, I put my case forward. I told them, obviously, the Assistant Chief Constable Superintendent were in charge of investigation, sitting in a chair in a panel. Saltways Police refused to give me my evidence, which I still do today. And she said, sorry, you're out of time, and kicked it out. I said, and I do believe the contacts with the Crime Commissioner and all these other people, it's, you know, how can people get justice?
It's all incestuous. So working for almost 2 decades then, you must have really bonded with some of your colleagues who are honest, yeah, and are still in the force. How do they come to terms with what's happened to you?
When this happened to me, Sean, everybody was paranoid. They just didn't trust them.
They thought it was going to be them next.
Yeah, and they couldn't believe the length. I'll even say, when I was in work, and I haven't said this before, I was sent home when I was suffering with stress in work. My head went, and the inspector told me to go home. And so this not the inspector, sorry, the sergeant in the office told me to go home. And I said, no, I just come back from 2 weeks on a sick with stress because my head had gone. And I came back in, and I didn't know there was all members, other staff members, and they told the sergeant when he came in, Tony's not right. It's not him. He don't know where he is. So the sergeant came over to me. He looked at me. He said, Tony, he said, I want you to go home. And I'm like on the computer. I said, I can't. I got too much work. He said, no, Tony. He said, you're not a well person. He said, I'm telling you to go home. I said, I can't. I said, he said, I am ordering you now to go home. So I went home and didn't go to the doctors because I knew, thinking, I've got to get back in and work. So when I had to go to the gross misconduct, this was part of my mitigation. So I said about this sergeant who sent me home, I want a report of him. So I know the professional standards phoned this sergeant up, and yet they said, we want a report of you because Tony have said this. So this sergeant done the report in 10 minutes and sent it through. So somebody was in a close position with the sergeant, knew exactly. So next minutes after he sent the statement, the phone goes. So the sergeant picked the phone up, and he heard the sergeant say, no, I'm not changing that statement. That's what's happened. So again, the professional standards are trying to pervert the course of justice even with that. And, I've got so much evidence of corruption, Sean, and you just can't make it up. So all these officers, even when this happened to me, my head went, and it meant a lot to me because I've always played five-side football, played football for the force, but I've always played every week. And I just stopped everything. And like even inspectors were there, they said, tell Tony to come to football. We know he's done nothing wrong. But what it's done for everyone else, they are so paranoid how the professional standards have worked. They're not trustworthy. Who polices professional standards? And they're all rooting for me to get justice. And, they're all standing by me. And I can't help hold my head up high because, it was like the assistant chief constable, 6 months after I finished, he put an additional 3 officers in that department. 6 months later, he's gone to the press and he said the licensing department in Cardiff can't cope with all the work. It's the busiest in the UK per square mile, and they can't cope. Well, I was like another knife in my heart where I've been overworked. And on top of that, he's put additional staff in it as well. And I know the other 2, they've gone long-term sick and retired, or just had loads of sick, or they've said, I can't do. They've gone in other departments. So for him to say that was like another knife in my stomach.
So earlier you mentioned that the Home Office just fobbed you off. Does the corruption go all the way to the Home Office?
Well, I think the Home Office, I don't know, Sean, whether this is related to the police pensions as well. It seems familiar that all these officers on the old pension, a good pension, they wanted everyone on this new pension, which is rubbish. And I believe it's sack as many as you can, we'll protect you, and save the Home Office money. So, now, if they wanted to do that, sorry, Sean, I got to say, if they wanted to do that, well, surely you should be sacking all these officers and a crime commissioner. That's a massive money you're going to save with your budget.
So they've saved a lot of money on your pension by getting rid of you?
Yeah.
How much do you estimate they've saved?
Oh, it'd be a lot. A lot. Yeah, a lot. I don't want to say.
So there's a financial incentive as well here.
But it seems like it's run from the Home Office. They're happy to dismiss for anyone and anyone, save the pot. And but this is what I'm saying. Well, I've been subject of a miscarriage of justice. I've been stitched up, lied to, fitted up, and dismissed. And yet you've got the Professional Standards Office, senior officers as well. Well, if I showed any solicitor who'd willing to take this on, surely all these would be dismissed, and they would with the evidence I've got, and the crime commissioner. Do you know what I mean? That's going to save the force and the taxpayer loads of money. But they wasted around about 2 million plus on me, so they needed something.
So I chatted to you on the phone. There's some absolutely mind-blowing cases that I wasn't aware of, and you told me to go and Google them.
Yeah.
and you've got a unique insight into these cases, and we were going to discuss them as well. So, Murder in the Valleys, what happened there?
Well, I would say anyone to look at that program, Murder in the Valleys, and it's on Netflix. It's shocking, and obviously I've got to be careful. I know there's a couple of books out about it, but I've spoken to a couple of people. I was gobsmacked when I looked at that program, and a lot of officers who were serving then, good officers, they said, yeah, I've seen it, and this guy didn't do it.
Whose murder is it about?
It's about a 3-generation family, 2 young girls, the mother and a nana. And
so who gets murdered?
The 4 of them.
The 4 of them?
Yeah, that's what I mean, Sean. You've got to look at it. You look at the evidence on there, and do you know what I mean? And, you know, police not looking at certain evidence, things like that. Exactly in mine.
Were they murdered at the same time, or was they?
Yeah.
They were all murdered at one location at the same time?
Yeah, in a house.
At a house. And who were the immediate suspects?
I think at the time it was 2 serving police officers. And
2 serving police officers were the immediate suspects?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think a lot of people should look at the programme and make their own views. And did Solway's police investigate it properly?
Who ended up going to prison for it?
Another guy, Di Morris, and he died in prison. And the family were trying to get it overturned, but he died in prison.
So there was no justice for him?
No.
And the possible perpetrators remain scot-free?
Well, they were exonerated, weren't they?
They were exonerated.
But that's what I mean. You look at the programme and, you know, I think all your viewers, they need to look at that.
Did they go back to work then after they were exonerated?
No.
No.
No, but the programme and the book, I'm in touch with the guy who wrote the book. I believe he's got another book coming out about it as well, because he's so passionate about it. Always investigated the flaws and everything else.
Yeah.
And so you've got that miscarriage of justice. Of course, you've got the Lynette White.
So who was Lynette White?
She was a young girl, a prostitute, who was stabbed in a flat in Cardiff Bay. There was 3 guys who went to prison. Massive miscarriage of justice. They've done many years in there, but as a result then of DNA and it being reopened, they got released. And of course, that's affected them, how they've been, you know, and I could see, you know, how they feel. So this was a national bit of news. So of course, they caught the guy who done it via DNA, and also they were investigating the officers then who put these 3 officers away. And then more shocking then, the evidence goes missing.
So
the evidence against these officers went missing. So it gets kicked out of court again. And then the evidence gets found again in a warehouse down in St Athan, that area of Cardiff.
So let me get this clear then. So 3 men are framed. How long did they serve?
Oh, a good number of years.
Decades?
Yeah. I think 2 of them now have passed away.
Do you recall what evidence they used to put them away in the first place? Was it like was it testimonies that were falsely procured or something?
It was, they had some informants who she had issues, and it seemed as though she was pressurised to give a statement and everything. But what evidence was there, I don't know.
So they
wanted a result, didn't they?
They wanted a result. What is the incentive to have a result without having the correct perpetrator? Is it just to satisfy the public? We're doing our job. We've got the bad guys.
Yeah, possibly. Or they just targeted these and thought, you know, we've got to get a result.
Or is it sometimes the case that if the 3 men are villains anyway, they're getting the just desserts for other things we haven't been able to get them for? Does that play a role in it?
It could be, Sean. I don't know. But if you look at it, you see what they were locked up for and everything else, and you think, no. Do you know what I mean? Again, it's shocking how these people were interviewed. It's horrendous. If anybody looks at that as well, the Lynette White, how Saltways Police And some of these officers are working in the professional standards team now as well.
That doesn't surprise me after speaking to you.
Yeah.
So when the evidence was refound in the warehouse, what impact did that have, if any?
It's not a public interest, I believe. And it's the dearest miscarriage of justice in the whole of UK.
Lynette is?
Yeah.
Dearest.
Yeah.
So millions were spent on it.
But these are all, you look at them, Sean, these are all recent ones.
Yeah.
You had the other ones with the Saunders murderer. There was 3 guys here, the Cardiff 3, they were arrested.
What was that case then? What happened?
A newsagent, Phil Saunders, was murdered. And so they just targeted these 3 guys and they were locked up for years, hadn't done it. And the evidence came out and how they were fitted up.
How were they fitted up?
Just, I think, pressurised, lies and everything else. And, I'm a firm believer you don't arrest anybody unless you get the evidence.
Yeah.
You look at the PSD with me, there was no evidence. It was all allegations. So I presume they were still doing it then. Or they've done it before and they're continuously doing it. Allegations, well, you can't have allegations. You've got to have the evidence. And this is what I said about my wife. Where's these inflated invoices? Where's the invoices for me, what I've done? Where's the evidence of gross misconduct I've done? Nothing.
So if any of these guys are watching who were incarcerated and were exonerated on these cases and you want to tell your story, please get in touch. My email's at my website, seanatwood.com. Any other cases like
You've
that?
got the Darvel brothers down in Swansea.
What happened there?
There was a girl in, it was a sex shop, she was murdered, and the Darvel brothers, they were suspects. And
she was murdered in the shop?
Yeah.
She run it, did she? Or she was working in it?
She was working in, yeah.
And she got murdered in the shop, and then they get these brothers.
Yeah, and they go to prison for a long time. And
Same thing, just false witnesses.
That's right. You've also got, there's a recent one now, and this coincides now, how the system works. I won't mention his name. There was a boy from Aberdeen, and he drowned a couple of years ago in some river up in Aberdeen. So the mother, whatever, presumably was pushed in. So, and they say, no, and all this. The police form an investigation. No, nothing to answer for. So she takes it then to the IOPC. No, everything's fine. We're happy with the investigation. So then it went to the High Court, and a well-known QC took it there, and obviously it was overturned. So again, it shows if you've got money or whatever, you can fight the police. But like I said, the police don't care because it's public taxpayers' money. They don't care, and this is what they try and do with everything.
So in all these high-profile cases then where people were exonerated, was anyone held at fault for that?
Well, this is what I mean.
Nobody?
No.
Not a single penalty
No.
of any kind on anyone?
Not as far as I know, no, nothing.
So if there's no consequences for procuring false witness statements, there's nothing to stop it from continuing to happen?
I've got a statement, Sean. The guy, the criminal, who said I was taking cash envelopes. In that statement, he hasn't put the location, the time. He hasn't signed it. The professional standards officers, who's supposed to be experienced, will not countersign that because they know they're conspiring to pervert the course of justice because they knew it was all false.
So even perjury doesn't apply in these cases?
Exactly. And, how can people make complaints to South Wales Police now when you've got the professional standards team who's guilty of serious corruption in my case? Not just mine, I speak to a lot of others' mind. And I'm sure I can put you in touch with other people who's willing to come forward now, how South Wales Police have acted and are still acting and are getting away because they're protected by the South Wales Police Crime Panel, who's in charge for the Crime Commissioner, because my complaint was so serious, they can't deal with it. You got the Home Office. No, we won't do nothing. Go to the IOPC to South Wales Police PSD to investigate themselves. It's like me nicking a car over there and saying, oh, I'll investigate myself and I'll sit on a panel. No, you're not guilty. It's corrupt. And when I watch this programme, To Catch a Copper, it gores me to thinking, well, you know, I'm not saying Bristol, Avon and Somerset, but you look at South Wales Police, the offences they've committed, not just in my case, is massive. They'll do anything to conceal, delay, and tamper with evidence and ignore. And, you know, they won't even come to my house. They will not come to my house to see the evidence I've got.
What kind of a world do we live in when the anti-corruption police are compromised? So there's a part of the story I'm a bit more curious about then, and that's your wife, what she went through.
Oh, it's horrendous.
Are you okay to talk about how you guys met and what she was working as when this all happened, or is that too personal?
No, she's worked in home base. She's worked in, you know, nursing homes and that. We were very, very friendly with a lady. She was, this was one of the other things. She was a multi-millionaire. And my wife used to walk her dog. And, you know, she was so friendly. She was very generous with presents and things like that. So, she, you know, it's nothing for her to buy us things and all like that. And I think it was a jealousy thing as well with the police. You know.
And how did you meet your wife?
I met her in a pub many years ago. The same pub which I closed down.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we've been together nearly 40 odd years now, 2 girls, and you know what they put her through, and she's disgusted. She's never ever been in trouble with the police. She's always law abiding, lovely person, and she's always said to me when I went in that department, you do not take any bribes, no nothing. And not I would, but how they treated her and how they can arrest. And this is the other thing, she got arrested because I was a police officer. I worked on Cardiff Bay Police Station, and so I had to be taken to another station out of Cardiff area because it's a restricted incident. What they done with her was take her down to my own police station, and it's supposed to be restricted. And like I said, there was no evidence whatsoever. So it's a false arrest. And again, South Wales Police, they will not address it. Knows about it. I will be writing to him again after this.
So before the corruption thing started with you, was your wife and your kids, were they concerned for your safety? Like, because you do put your life on the line so much over the years, did you have to have conversations and reassure them, things like that? Yeah,
you tried to make them streetwise. And my one daughter, when this happened, she was in university down Falmouth, Fine Art. It affected her a little bit. When I was arrested, my daughter was in the shower or the bath, and she said the police just kicked the door in. They come out, and she said, "Yeah, what's going on?" And she said, "Oh, your parents been arrested." And obviously, you know, she was quite young, and she's thinking, "What?" And she asked my daughter. She said, "Has your father got any drugs in the house or large amounts of money?" And she said, "My father don't do drugs." And so, yeah, it's had an impact on her. And I will say as well, that daughter, she was like a receptionist in a hotel, and it did affect her. And she was coming home one night, and she's not a drinker, and she was afraid to phone me to come and pick her up because of the state I'd been in. And I always remember then the traffic officers phoned me up and said, your daughter's been involved in a serious car accident.
No.
And she had a drink. Obviously, she was going through it as well, and she don't drink that much. And she ended up smashing a car and nearly died. And this is all to do with this. So the impact it's had. And my other daughter, she cannot stand the police now. She don't trust them, you know, especially with this Sarah Everard thing as well. She just don't feel safe with any police.
So before the NFAs came in and you were losing weight and you were going through it psychologically, that must have been really taking a toll on your wife and daughters.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
It was terrible. And to me now, Sean, I think it's like a blur.
How long did that period go on for? Was it months?
Couple of years.
Couple of years.
Yeah, I still suffer now. If I go anywhere and I think somebody's tall behind me, and you know, I can turn around and think I've been followed, or I've had altercations with people if they're staring at me. You know, you imagine when you read that and you've got three forces following you.
And the uncertainty of not knowing how it's going to be resolved, that must have been really
the
worst part of it, psychologically.
Yeah. Well, if I could get justice, I could probably move on with my life. But it's, I think they've spent all this money, and I believe the police are still trying to get something on me because they know, like I said, I was threatened. I give him all the taxes. Oh, I can't see no threats in that.
So you still feel as if they're trying to get something on you so then they can say, look, we were right about him.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's never going to end for you.
No, it's continuing. And like I said, Sean, if I've done something wrong, I'll put my hands up. And I've been excellent in that job. And those police officers in the professional standards need to look at themselves and that crime commissioner. Why he's still there, I don't know.
Yeah.
And like you said about the Masons, is he protected? But you look at his circle, a lot of it is all Labour. You've got the police crime commissioner, the South Wales Police Crime Panel, ex-Labour members or ex-police officers. You've got, it's all Labour down the Welsh Senedd. And so who can you contact?
So by coming here and telling your story today, what do you hope to achieve? I
want to expose them. I'm trying to get action against them because they cannot continue to do this, Sean. There's innocent, and there's some good police officers out there as well. But not just police officers, I think members of the public as well. If they make a complaint about the police, well, it should be dealt with properly. Not people who's committed and guilty of serious corruption, investigating them. And like I said, it gores me watching our programme To Catch a Copper. And I thinking, well, who's policing PSD and South Wales Police? You know, why won't they have a meeting with me? Why won't the Chief Constable? I was a good officer, well respected. Why won't you come to see me? You know, face on face. The Federation, I'm disgusted with them as well, Sean. Not just me, there's people all around this country. They've taken all our money off us. I've paid 18 years, you know, money for a union to support me, and they've just ditched me after. And how they can say, oh no, we're not going to help you, it's disgusting. And, you know, like I said at my Police Medical Appeals Board, I can prove the chair in there was in contact with South Wales Police because stuff he was bringing out, that wasn't disclosed to us. So again, it's all in to save the government money. The police injury on duty pensions, officers are not getting their rewards for what they've been through. And you see the Home Office and this government, it really needs to look at himself.
So for the people who've been watching this podcast then for the last 2+ hours, probably heartbroken hearing the things, but enjoying your lovely Welsh accent, is there any way those people can help you out there watching this? Can they contact you? Can we put any links out for them?
Yeah, I can give you my, if the link goes out, or my email, if anybody wants to help. The evidence I have got is crucial, shocking, damning, and like I said, it's not made up. Everything I'm telling you, I can, you know, show you. And that's what I mean as a police officer. I want justice, not just for myself. And like I said, I think I speak to a lot of people, members of the public as well, who's come across South Wales Police Professional Standards Department, and why aren't they getting justice for their cases? Just shut down because they know the system. You go on a merry-go-round, and they know at the end of the day, you're going to get what they want. And they got no cause to fall back on or nobody to police them. And yeah, so
Tony's email will be in the description box below the video if you want to reach out. And on a different note, we're coming to Cardiff actually in March. We're bringing Michael Francis, ex-Mafia capo, who's portrayed in that movie Goodfellas.
Yeah.
So I'd like to, if you want to come along as my guest,
that's brilliant, thank you.
I can arrange that for you.
Yeah. When is it?
It's going to be a fun night. The Cardiff one is, can I remember now? It's late in March. I'd have to check my calendar for that. Oh, but I'll sort that out for you. Yeah, it's not every night you get to meet someone out of Goodfellas.
Yeah. I like the film; it's brilliant.
Yeah. I'll put that link down there as well if anyone in the Cardiff area wants to come and join us. It's quite a compelling movie. So huge thank you for watching this. Let us know in the comments what you think. Like I said, Tony's emails down there if you want to reach out. Huge thank you for Tony for coming in and sharing this story, and we wish you all the best of it, man. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
If you're looking for a gift, my new book, Sit Downs with Gangsters, is available worldwide on Amazon. We've interviewed over 1,000 people now, and we selected 10 of the hardest hitting stories to go in this book. Each chapter features the story of one of our podcast guests. Those stories are Shane Taylor, Knife Maniac's Redemption; John Elite, Mafia Hitman for the Gambino crime family; Joey Barnett, 35 years in UK prison; Ian Blink MacDonald, £6 million bank robber; Chet Sandu, Asian smuggler in Spanish Supermax; John Lawson, the hit team commander; David Macmillan, international smugglers Thai death row prison escape; John Abbott, San Quentin prison shootout and escape; Michael Francis, Colombo crime family capo portrayed in Goodfellas; and Wildman, English enforcer in Arizona prison. Link in description box on YouTube, available worldwide on Amazon. Also, my next book, Untouchable Jimmy Savile, is getting published in December 2023. So check that out as well. It will be available worldwide on Amazon. Thank you for listening. Cheers.